In Chapter 4 of Giving Reasons, Morrow talks about the reliability of premises, and he makes three important points about them. The first is that reliability is not the same as truth. A premise can be true, but still not be reliable in the sense that we mean. To be reliable, a premise has to be justified for the particular audience. It has to not just be true, but a person also has to be justified in believing it. So, a statement that's true but not justified would not be reliable for purposes of an argument. It needs to be both true and justified in order to be reliable. The second point is that this reliability and justification will be relative to the audience that we are addressing. So it depends who the argument is directed towards. A particular premise could be reliable for some people, but not for other people. This would depend upon their knowledge level, their context, and the various perceptual and authority experiences that they have, which would give them reasons for believing and trusting in the statement and believing in its truth. The third point is that although this is relative to an audience, it is not subjective. It's not a subjective quality. And I'd like to take some time to think about that for a moment. The reliability of a premise is relative to the audience to whom it's addressed, but it's not a subjective quality, it's objective. The comparison that brought this home for me was Morrow's comparison in Chapter 4 of safe food to preferred food. I might prefer or like or dislike walnuts, for example, but it is an objective fact about me that walnuts are safe for me to eat. Or it would be an objective fact about me that walnuts are unsafe for me to eat because I have an allergy. My particular preference or my decision doesn't enter into it. And as with food allergies or food safety, whether a premise or a claim is reliable for me is not a matter of my making a decision about it, but a matter of what my relationship to the evidence and the different sources of authority and justification is with respect to that particular claim. So let's consider a few examples of reliability of a premise. Earlier in the book, Morrow gives the basic argument of the Declaration of Independence. Putting it this way, the premise, the king has badly mistreated the colonies. The conclusion, therefore the colonies should be independent of the king. Let's just focus in on the premise right now and ask if it is reliable. The first question to ask would be, reliable for whom? For the Declaration of Independence, there would be a domestic audience, Americans hearing about the Declaration, wondering why independence is being declared, and maybe also an international audience. In high school, you no doubt learned that the French and other European nations were a primary audience for the Declaration of Independence. Do they have justification, good reason for believing that King George III has badly mistreated the colonies? Well, if you take a look at the remainder of the Declaration of Independence, the main part of the document consists of a list of charges or complaints against the king. He has quartered troops in our homes. He has overtaxed us without our consent. He has withheld his assent from laws which are necessary for our government. He has failed to defend our frontiers. All of these are specific complaints that are being offered to the world and to fellow Americans as reasons for accepting as justifiable, as reasonable, the premise that the king has badly mistreated the colonies. Let's consider a different example. In Chapter 4, Morrow gives the example of a lottery ticket. Let's suppose I purchase a lottery ticket and I discover, checking the numbers in the newspaper or on the website, that I have the winning numbers. And I come to be justified in believing that I've won the lottery. I believe that this is the winning ticket. So, what's the justification for my belief that this is the winning ticket? Well, it's the authority of the newspaper or the website. I believe that they've printed the correct lottery numbers. And it's my perception of the numbers on my ticket and my ability to compare the numbers on the ticket to the numbers on the website and see that they are the same. So it seems that I'm justified by perception and by authority in believing this is the winning ticket to be a true statement. Now, supposing I go and tell my wife. I say, we just won the lottery. This is the winning ticket. Now, she could believe this statement on the basis of my testimony alone. She could say, oh, is that right? We've won the lottery. Great. Let's go collect our winnings. But what's more likely is that she'll believe me in a preliminary way, and then she will check. She will check the website. She'll check the ticket herself. She'll acquire the other ways of justification that I already have. She'll be justified by my testimony, but then in a more important way by the authority of the website and by the perception of the numbers on the ticket. Now suppose we both go tell our neighbor. We open the window and we shout out the window, "We've won the lottery." My neighbor says, "Yeah, is that right?" And I say, my wife says, "Yes, we've won the lottery. I checked." Now my neighbor could believe that this is the winning ticket, and he could be justified in believing it on the basis of our testimony, my testimony and my wife's, and his reasoning that it's unlikely we would both be lying to him about this. But he can also check the ticket himself and check the website himself to compare the numbers to become even more justified in believing that this is the winning ticket. Now suppose all of us go down to the lottery official's office and we walk in and we say, "This is the winning ticket." How does the lottery official become justified in believing that what we've said is true? Well, in this case, probably not on the basis of our testimony, because we could be misleading him. What he's going to do is he's going to take a very careful look at the ticket, examine it for any kind of attempt at forgery or fraud. He's going to verify that the numbers are actually the numbers printed on the ticket, that I haven't misread it, that I haven't altered it to change a 9 into an 8, for example. He's also going to have access to the winning numbers in a way that doesn't come just through the website or through the newspaper. He's going to have presumably the numbers that were drawn under some kind of officially controlled circumstances. He'll have access to those numbers directly. So he'll have both his perception of the ticket under very careful controlled conditions and the higher authority of the numbers actually being drawn. The lottery official also probably is going to have several other lottery officials go through the same process of verifying the winning numbers and verifying the numbers on my ticket, and probably have a number of people being willing to sign their names under legal penalty that this is in fact what we discovered about the numbers on this ticket and the official winning numbers before they'll actually release the winnings to me. Two things to notice about this process, though. One, every single person here, me, my wife, my neighbor, and the lottery official, became justified in believing that this is the winning ticket at a different point in time, under slightly different circumstances. The premise did not become reliable for each of us until we had gone through a process of justification sufficient to convince us that we have good reasons for believing that this statement is a true statement. The second point is that the statement, "This is the winning ticket," has been true all throughout this entire process. It was true when I first discovered it, all the way up through when the lottery ticket official became convinced of it and released my winnings to me. It was even true before I discovered it. The day before I checked the winning numbers, this actually was the winning ticket, or was going to be the winning ticket. Supposing the numbers were drawn and I didn't find out about checking the website until several hours later, that "this is the winning ticket" was a true statement regardless, but I was not justified in believing it until I actually went through the process of checking my numbers and checking the website. That was then sufficient to make that premise justified for me and therefore reliable. So that's a closer look at reliability, a concept from chapter 4 of David Morrow's book, Giving Reasons. Thanks for watching today. Goodbye.